Welcome to the Big Game Hunting Podcast, where we help hunters like you prepare for the big game hunting adventures you've always dreamed of. Now, here's your host, John McAdams.
Hello, John McAdams here, and you are listening to bonus episode number 3 of the Big Game Hunting Podcast. Today, I'm going to address one of those things that still doesn't get the attention that it deserves from most hunters: protecting your hearing while you're actually out hunting. Now, I did talk about this a little bit previously on one of my very earliest episodes, which was episode number 25. However, this is an important subject, so it is worth covering again. Additionally, a lot has changed in the 2 years that have gone by since I last talked about this subject, and there have been some positive developments on that front recently. So that is what we are going to talk about in this bonus episode of the Big Game Hunting Podcast. Now, I think we can all agree that we would love to keep our sense of hearing at a high level for our entire lives. After all, nobody wants to be that old man or woman who is practically deaf and can barely carry on a conversation. It is even worse for those who also have severe tinnitus, which is an absolutely miserable and incurable condition for a lot of people. While hearing loss and tinnitus are both incurable, they are also both 100% preventable. We have made a lot of progress on the ear protection front, though. My dad almost never wore ear protection at all when he was a kid or a young man, even at the shooting range. He does now, though, and he was also very strict about requiring my siblings and I to wear ear protection while we were shooting as children as well. So that is a big step forward compared to the situation 50 years ago. Additionally, the quality of ear protection has dramatically improved as well, from people sticking empty cartridge cases or cotton balls in their ears in the 1950s and 1960s to the much more sophisticated over-the-ear muffs or ear plugs that we have access to today. Now, unfortunately, most people, including my dad, still don't wear ear protection while they're actually out hunting. Now, I hear what you're thinking. John, I hear what you're saying, but as a hunter, I need to be able to hear what is going on while I'm afield. Also, ear protection is uncomfortable to wear for hours at a time, and I can't risk any unnecessary movements before I shoot because I don't want to spook game, or I simply don't have the time to put ear pro on before I shoot an animal after it appears. I hear you. I've said those things too, and those were the excuses I gave for many years for not wearing hearing protection. I've also said things like, I'm a deer hunter, so I don't shoot that much. How much harm can I actually be doing to my ears? Unfortunately, noises louder than 120 decibels can cause immediate and permanent hearing loss, and a gunshot, depending on the cartridge, the firearm, the ammo in question, etc., that can range from 130 to 180 decibels in some cases. So a single gunshot can actually be really bad, especially when that damage is accumulated over the course of 20 to 30 years of hunting. So what the heck do you do about it? Now, I have tried a bunch of different things because I shoot and hunt a lot, and I darn sure don't want to have preventable hearing loss when I get older. I have carried a set of Howard Light electronic earmuffs afield with me for the past couple of years, and they've worked okay. However, they're bulky and they aren't great to wear for long periods of time. They also don't work great when I'm moving, and they seem to distort sound to the point where I have a hard time sorting out what's going on if there are a lot of leaves on the ground or if it is windy. If I'm sitting in a deer stand or something, then yeah, I'll put them on when I sit down and just keep them on for the entire duration of that sit. And they have worked pretty well in that role. For instance, I put them on when I got into my little homemade ground blind that I ended up shooting my elk from this past year in New Mexico. Likewise, I'll also put them on when I know I'm about to enter that final phase of the stalk on an animal. I've done that a couple of times with pronghorn, as well as the javelina I shot this past February. However, the idea that you'll just have EarPro with you and put it on when you need it doesn't always work out, especially when things get a little hectic out there. I've had some encounters with game that I just didn't have time to put the EarPro on for. The javelina I shot in 2020 was a good example. He popped out of the brush in front of me, and I just had a couple of seconds to shoot. I made that shot without ear protection, and I really regretted it later. So good hunting EarPro has to be something that is comfortable to wear for hours at a time while you're doing various activities, so you'll already be wearing them whenever it comes time to shoot, even if that comes as a surprise. Now, I used to use a set of Walker game ears, which are basically electronic ear plugs. They worked okay for me on a few hunts in Washington, but they weren't very comfortable after a couple of hours. Now, additionally, I've never told anybody this before other than my wife, so I'm letting you in on a little secret right now, but I actually had the tip come off one of them inside my ear canal while I was hunting in New Zealand. I could not get that darn thing out because it went down my ear canal and turned sideways. I was literally on the other side of the world having to deal with that mess, which was painful and embarrassing. I ended up shooting my tar on that hunt with the tip buried deep in my ear canal, and I had to fly back home before I could get it removed. Now, in addition to that, those were also very expensive ear protection. Needless to say, that was the last time that I wore them. Your ear protection also needs some sort of hearing enhancement as well, so you can wear them and still be able to hear all the ambient noises of your environment. Leaves rustling, turkeys clucking and gobbling, squirrels barking, etc. Now, I've worn a lot of different hearing protection over the years, and while each was better in some categories than others, none of them really checked all of those boxes. However, I discovered a newer hearing protection model that I want to share with you today. Now, companies are always trying to send me gear to test out. Most of it is stuff that I'm either not interested in or is just obviously junk. However, I do occasionally find some really good stuff. A company called AXIL sent me a set of their Ghost Strike Extreme, or GS Extreme, electronic earbuds a couple months ago, and I have been spending a lot of time testing them out. To this point, they have definitely fallen into the quote-unquote good stuff category, and I wanted to share what I've learned about them so far with you today. As sort of a bottom line up front, AXIL GS Extreme earbuds protect your hearing. They provide audio enhancement and actually make quiet sounds easier to hear, but will still protect your ears from loud sounds like gunshots. And they have 5.0 Bluetooth connectivity and can be paired with your phone to allow you to listen to podcasts and music or even take phone calls. Though those functions are desirable and useful individually, they really take things to a new level when combined in the manner they are with these earbuds. So in this episode, I'm going to explain what makes AXIL GS Extreme earbuds different from most other ear protection products these days, and go over the pros and cons of them so you can make an informed decision regarding whether or not they make sense for you to use yourself. So first, what are AXIL GS Extreme electronic earbuds and how do they work? Founded in 2012, AXIL is a family-owned business headquartered in Salt Lake City, Utah. The family that founded this business actually started out in the hearing aid industry, so they applied that knowledge and experience to their products in the sporting goods industry. Now, due to their history and experience in the hearing aid industry, the folks at AXIL took an approach with their hearing protection that is slightly different from what some people may be used to with electronic ear protection. Older electronic ear muffs and ear plugs, and some lower-cost modern electronic ear protection will simply turn off their microphones when they detect sound levels above a certain level and will protect the user with regular passive hearing protection. After a certain period of time, the microphones turn back on. The end result is they amplify quieter sounds under normal conditions, quickly turn off when detecting louder noise, and then turn back on when the dangerous noise is no longer present. That way of doing things generally worked pretty well and was a massive improvement over passive hearing protection by protecting hearing from dangerous sounds while providing hearing amplification the rest of the time. However, that can get a little annoying when in certain really noisy environments. For instance, there may be almost continuous gunfire at a shooting range. Under those conditions, the amplification will be constantly cutting in and out, leaving the user with just the passive protection and no amplification. This isn't dangerous, but it can be annoying, especially when you're trying to have a conversation with someone. Now, the speed the amplifier turns off and on is called attack time. Well, more modern electronic hearing protection developed by the sporting goods industry have faster processors to decrease attack time to shorter and shorter intervals to reduce the clipping effect experienced with older electronic earmuffs. Well, more advanced models, like AXIL GS Extreme earbuds, do things a little differently, and they use sound compression technology instead of simply turning off the amplifier when loud noises are detected. This allows the user to still hear all the sounds in the environment around them, but reduces extremely loud noises to safe levels. This completely eliminates that clipping effect experienced with other ear protection. However, it can be a little confusing to users, like me, who are used to having their electronic earmuffs shut off to block out gunshots. Indeed, a gunshot will still sound exactly like a gunshot with ear protection that uses sound compression technology. But it won't be nearly as loud as it would be without ear protection, though. This is great once you get used to it because they deliver a continuous stream of sound into your ears at a safe level without cutting in and out. Now, like I mentioned earlier, this is how the AXIL GS Extreme earbuds protect hearing, and they shut out sounds at 95 decibels or higher. According to AXIL, they have a 29 decibel noise reduction rating, or NRR, and that is towards the high end of normal for an NRR with hearing protection in that price range. Additionally, they also provide hearing enhancement. Now, AXIL GS Extreme earbuds have two small control sticks. One of them controls hearing amplification, and the other controls the Bluetooth functions. To turn on hearing enhancement, just flip the toggle switch on the left-hand control box to the on position, and then use the plus and minus buttons to turn the hearing enhancement volume up or down to your preference. Now, AXIL advertises that these earbuds provide 6x hearing enhancement, so they can offset mild or moderate hearing loss and even amplify normal hearing to better than average levels, so the user can detect quieter sounds and or noises at increased distance. To turn on Bluetooth and pair with a device, press and hold the middle button on the right-hand control box. Then use the plus and minus buttons on that side to turn up and down the Bluetooth volume. It's important to understand that these features can be used in combination with each other or independently. And the two models have independent volume controls that you can use to tune to your environment. So for instance, you probably don't need hearing enhancement to mow your yard, but you might want to listen to music or to the Big Game Hunting podcast while you work. So you can leave hearing enhancement off, but turn on Bluetooth. The passive ear protection provided by wearing these earbuds will dampen the sound of your lawnmower, and you can listen to your favorite podcast via Bluetooth at a comfortable level while you cut the grass. Likewise, you might want some amplified hearing to hear approaching game while you're hunting, but not be distracted by music or a podcast, especially a really interesting show like this podcast. In that case, you can leave Bluetooth off, but turn up the hearing amplification a bit to hear sounds you might otherwise miss, and still protect your ears when you shoot. Finally, they use a rechargeable lithium battery to power those electronics. AXIL advertises that they will provide up to 12 hours of hearing enhancement and around 6 hours of Bluetooth audio mode. Note that using enhancement and Bluetooth together will deplete the battery faster. Now, the battery is charged via a micro USB charging port on the right-hand control box. All right, now that we've talked about the basics of these earbuds, let's talk about what I like and don't like about them. We'll start with the good stuff. So first, the AXIL GS Extreme earbuds are very good in their primary role of protecting hearing. Worn properly, and this is important, they are extremely effective and they provide ear protection on par with just about any other ear plug or ear muff that I have worn. Like I said, you need to wear them properly though. They come with 2 different sizes of white silicone tips and 2 different sizes of foam plugs. So first, it is important that you only wear the black foam tips on your earbuds at the range or when hunting. The white tips have a lower noise reduction rating and they are not rated for shooting. You also need to take 5 minutes to see which tips fit you best because they come in different sizes. They won't protect your hearing if you skip this step. However, they will provide very good ear protection and they will be very comfortable to wear if you wear them properly and use the appropriate tips that fit your ear canal. Now, this brings me to my next point. They're very comfortable to wear for long periods of time once you get them fitted to you properly. They are also still comfortable and effective if you're wearing a hat and or glasses. This is one of the things that really sets them apart from other ear protection models I have used. After all, ear protection doesn't do you any good if you don't wear it when you need it. I live in Texas, so I spend a lot of time at the range and even hunting when it is hot and humid. Regular earmuffs very quickly get hot, sweaty, and uncomfortable for me. So the fact that they are earbuds is a big benefit to start off with from a comfort perspective. However, I have also used electronic ear plugs like those Walker's Game Ears that I talked about earlier that are nowhere near as comfortable as AXIL GS Extreme earbuds. I've worn the AXIL earbuds for 6 hours plus at a time without discomfort. They also use moldable ear hooks to keep the buds securely in your ears as you move around. I have done a lot of hard, hot work with power tools and yard equipment wearing the GS Extreme earbuds lately. Even though I was moving around a lot and got really sweaty, they still stayed put in my ears. This is especially important when using them for hunting ear protection. In those circumstances, I want something I can put in at the beginning of the hunt and not worry about until I'm done. The last thing I want to do is fiddle around trying to put something in my ears when I have a deer standing 50 yards away. Fortunately, that is not an issue with these earbuds. Providing good hearing protection and being comfortable to wear for hours at a time are essential features in hunting ear protection. So is hearing enhancement. Luckily, AXIL GS Extreme earbuds do a good job with that as well, and I can definitely hear better with them on than I can with nothing on at all. While I cannot independently verify how much hearing enhancement they provide and if they meet that 6x standard that they advertise, I can say that they do indeed provide a noticeable boost to my hearing. They're also not bad in windy conditions. Yes, the wind can be pretty loud in some cases, but wind noise isn't nearly as big of an issue with these earbuds as I have experienced with other ear protection models, especially those Walker Game Ears and the Howard Light Muffs. both of which were terrible in the wind. I don't want to oversell these AXIL buds. Yes, they are much better than the others, but you will still get some wind noise with them. Even so, high winds can be pretty darn noisy with nothing in your ears at all when your head is turned just right. So I just turned the hearing enhancement off if the wind noise is too annoying. Now, the fact that they are earbuds instead of over-the-ear muffs is also a plus when shooting long guns, as they don't affect my cheek weld. I've also been pretty happy with their battery life. I have not had occasion to use them for 12 hours at a time, but I have never had issues with the battery during multiple hour range sessions or just time I've spent working outdoors with loud power tools. Now, the sound quality of these earbuds is good or excellent depending on the mode. I wouldn't quite describe them as providing studio quality audio, but their Bluetooth sound quality is very nearly on par with my Apple AirPod Pro earbuds, which are quite a bit more expensive and they don't provide ear protection. Audio quality is lower but still decent with the hearing amplification feature. There is a little distortion with the sound sometimes, especially when I talk when the volume is at a higher level, but it's not a major issue, and we'll talk more about this in the What I Don't Like section next. So let's talk about what I don't like about them. As good as they are, there are a few things I don't like about the AXIL GS Extreme earbuds that you do need to be aware of before you purchase a set. So first, they have a constant hiss when the hearing amplification feature is turned on. For reference, my Howard Light Impact Sport earmuffs have a hiss as well, but it's not quite as loud as what I experience with AXIL earbuds. It doesn't bother me much, but it is something to be mindful of. Next, they are sensitive to my voice, and they sound funny when I talk while the hearing amplification is turned up at high levels. It's not as much of a problem at low levels, though. This isn't a major issue most of the time, though, because the times when I have the hearing amplification turned up the highest, like when hunting, are also the times I'm least likely to be talking. Now, some people also don't like the wires and control boxes that hang down behind your head a little bit when you're wearing them. It doesn't bother me with the sort of activities I do with them. They don't bother me when I'm wearing a backpack or a bino harness, for instance, and I just tuck the ends down the back of my shirt. But they can get in the way if you're doing a lot of work with a rifle using a single-point sling, for instance, though, so keep that in mind. In that same vein, all of the controls are located behind your head when you're wearing these earbuds. I picked up the controls very quickly by feel, but it can be a little frustrating to figure things out at first. Now, they also just take a little bit of time to set up properly and figure out. I really like these earbuds once I got the feel of how to wear and use them, but it did take me a little bit of time to really get comfortable with it. Once again, read the directions in detail, use the right tips, and ensure that you are wearing them properly. Now, AXIL did make a pretty good instructional YouTube video on exactly how to do this, and I will put a link in the show notes where you can watch it. The vast majority of people I've seen who did not like these AXIL earbuds neglected one or all of those steps. Finally, while they provide plenty of ear protection under normal conditions, they are a little lacking in that department in really noisy environments. If you are shooting something like a short-barreled AR-15 at an indoor range, a Barrett 50 cal, or if you're standing off to the side from someone shooting a 300 Win Mag with a muzzle brake, then you should definitely double up your ear protection with ear muffs as well. That is not something unique to the AXIL GS Extreme earbuds, and I would give that advice to anyone shooting under extremely loud circumstances like those, regardless of the ear protection they're using. It is still something to keep in mind, though. All things considered, I think AXIL GS Extreme earbuds are an outstanding form of hunting ear protection. They're not perfect, but I think they do a good job of protecting your hearing. They provide hearing amplification and Bluetooth connectivity, and they are just very comfortable to wear for hours at a time. They're right up there with the AirPod Pro as far as being some of the most comfortable earbuds I've ever worn in my life. Yes, there are other models out there that are better than the GS Extreme in one area or another, but they also usually cost quite a bit more money. Likewise, there are also other Bluetooth headsets and earbuds that have better sound, but are also significantly more expensive and or lack the hearing protection and hearing amplification features of the AXIL GS Extreme. With all that said, there is a reason why I use AXIL GS Extreme earbuds for my trips to the shooting range and for my hunting excursions now. They provide an excellent balance of the features most important to me at a reasonable price. Bottom line, I think they are a great piece of gear that are well worth the money for hearing protection at the range, while hunting, working with power tools, doing yard work, and almost any other indoor or outdoor activities that require ear protection. To buy some AXIL GS Extreme electronic earbuds for yourself, click the link in the show notes or go to thebiggamehuntingblog.com/earpro, EARPRO, to get the best available pricing on these earbuds, which is up to 65% off MSRP in some cases. That's thebiggamehuntingblog.com/earpro. Now, the fact that you are listening to this podcast means that you are serious about making your dreams come true. You can send questions or future show requests to me via email, and my email address is john@thebiggamehuntingblog.com, or you can send me a direct message on Instagram, and my handle is @thebiggamehunter. Remember, you can make your dream hunt turn into a reality, and I can help. Thank you for listening, and I will see you back here next time on the Big Game Hunting Podcast.
This show may be over, but we have plenty more for you on our website. For more information on today's topic, as well as lots of other useful hunting resources, head over to thebiggamehuntingblog.com. We look forward to having you back for the next episode. But until then, happy hunting.